Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into MillenniumDB, a graph-oriented database management system. It's a really exciting project, still under development, but already showing a lot of promise. The core idea is to build a highly extensible database, perfect for testing cutting-edge graph algorithms and database techniques.
That sounds fascinating. So it's not production-ready yet, right? What kind of graph models does it support?
Exactly. It's not production-ready, but it's actively developed. It supports two main graph models, RDF and property graphs. For RDF, it uses SPARQL, and it has pretty comprehensive support, although there are a few unsupported features, like updates beyond insert and delete data, and named graphs. There are also some interesting deviations from the standard SPARQL specification, particularly regarding language tag handling and lexical representation of numeric data types.
Interesting. So what about the property graph model? What query language does it use?
For property graphs, they've created their own query language, inspired by Cypher. The documentation points to where you can find the specifics of that language. The cool thing is that the choice of graph model dictates the query language you use. You can't mix and match.
Right, makes sense for maintaining consistency. What about building and installing MillenniumDB? How difficult is that?
It's pretty straightforward, actually. It's designed to work on most x86-64 Linux distributions, and they even provide instructions for Windows using WSL and macOS, with some caveats for Intel-based Macs. They've got a detailed breakdown of the dependencies, GCC, CMake, Boost, and a few others. They even provide instructions on how to install Boost, which is helpful. They also offer a Docker file, which simplifies the process significantly.
That's great for accessibility. And how do you actually use it once it's installed? I mean, querying and creating databases?
Okay, so you use mdb import to create a database, specifying the data file and the output directory. For RDF, you use turtle format. There's an optional prefixes file to save space. Then, to query, you run mdb server to start the server, and then you can use the web interface at http://localhost port 4321/ or send HTTP requests directly. They even provide a handy curl script for easier querying. For updates, there's a similar script.
So it's a client-server architecture. That's pretty standard. What about the example they provide? Is it helpful?
Yeah, the example is a good walkthrough. It shows you how to create a sample database, launch the server, execute a query using the web interface, and then remove the database. It's a really practical demonstration of the entire workflow. It's a great way to get your hands dirty and understand the process.
It sounds like a well-documented project. One thing I noticed, though, is that the unsupported SPARQL features are quite a few. Does that limit its usefulness significantly?
That's a valid point. The lack of full SPARQL support is a limitation, especially for users already invested in the SPARQL ecosystem. However, given that it's still under development, it's understandable. They're clearly prioritizing other aspects of the system first and focusing on the core functionality of both graph models. The fact that they're transparent about the limitations is a plus.
True, transparency is key. Overall, it seems like a promising project. The dual support for RDF and property graphs, along with the detailed documentation and the Docker support, makes it quite accessible for experimentation and development. I'm excited to see how it evolves.
Absolutely. It's a really interesting project to follow. The focus on extensibility and the clear documentation make it a valuable resource for researchers and developers alike. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into MillenniumDB. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.